Well, the F-250 project is on hold due to this flu bug going around. It's made getting parts extremely difficult. So we decided to put together a short video showing some of the current and future projects we have around the property. Hope you enjoy. This is my 1989 John Deere 310C tractor backhoe loader. It is four-wheel drive and it does have the Extend-A-Hoe on it. I just picked this up less than a month ago. I was actually looking for a subcompact size, but got a really good deal on this one. I just couldn't pass it up. It's a lot more tractor than I need for our property here, but it's going to work just fine. We got a good deal on it because it does need some work. The reverser needs to be rebuilt. The forward clutches are shot. It does drive fine in reverse, but the forward, it just slips. While I was looking at it, one of the hydraulic hoses on the Extend-A-Boom bursted. So I already replaced both hoses for the Extend-A-Boom because we needed to use it for around the yard. I got all the fluids and filters and everything to go through it, plus rebuild the reverser, so it'll go through the whole thing, make sure it's all up and ready, no problems. So I do have a new oil pan that the previous owner gave to me, so we'll be replacing that as well. I've never worked on something like this before, so this will be a learning process for me, and I'll try to record as much as I can to share. I'm looking forward to it. Things already been a lifesaver around the property, hoisting, moving, working, just using reverse. So I can't wait to get everything working like it's supposed to and continue to have fun with it. This is our 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. It's got the 4.7 liter V8 with the automatic transmission and the part-time 242 transfer case. This is actually my son's vehicle when he starts driving. He wants to build it into an expedition vehicle. We got a really good deal on this one. Actually only paid $100 for it. It does have a blown head gasket and it might have dropped one of the valve seats. So we're gonna pull the motor and the tranny and go through both. It's a learning process for him as well. But we're gonna go through it front to back, fix all the issues that Chrysler had with the 4.7 liter V8. As you can see, the interior is really clean. No issues there. It's all stock. So this will be a fresh new build. Again, he wants to turn it into an expedition vehicle. So we're looking at a 6 to 7 inch long arm suspension lift, 35 to 37 inch tires, full protection front and rear bumpers with external mounted spare. Of course, all the skid plates on the bottom. We'll do the slip yoke eliminator on the transfer case. Probably front and rear lockers. Really turn it into an exciting little expedition rig. I think it's going to be great. He's excited. We have lots of good trails, mountain driving you can see in the background to go exploring with this. So this will be a fun project. Once we get caught up on some of the other ones, we'll be jumping into this one, seeing what we can make of it. Now here's Old Glory. This is what we nicknamed it. It's my 1949 Ford 8N tractor. We picked this up off the top of a mountain in Placerville. It was sitting for about 2 years, hadn't ran. Got it home, cleaned it up, cleaned the carburetor out, was able to get it to run, but it just wasn't running very good. So I ended up buying a new carburetor for it, and it's ran good ever since. Other than that, just basic maintenance. Did have to replace the exhaust manifold because it was rusted and just causing an exhaust leak. The PTO works. The 3-point hitch works. We use it a brush hog, a post hole digger, box blade, and a landscaping rake off of it, and she does just good with those. Parts are actually readily available for this and decently priced, so it's fun to work on this, and I look forward to rebuilding the motor here once we get caught up with some of the other projects. So I'll try to record all that. This is a little 16-foot inboard outboard lake boat we picked up from the previous owner. Actually got it for free. He was just sick and tired of trying to figure out what was wrong with it. I've narrowed it down just in a little bit of troubleshooting I did with it, that the electrical system is pretty corroded on it. The engine itself is a little 4-cylinder Volvo Penta, and it's spotless. So once I get some time, we'll go through and rewire everything, replace the ignition switch, get all the wiring up to date, so we can take this out onto the lake. But it's a 1960s model 16-foot lake boat, and it should be fun. We got a lake within 5 minutes of our house, so we'll be able to test it out there. This is by far my favorite vehicle I've ever owned. This is a 2003 Ford Excursion 4x4 Limited that I picked up. Oh, we've had it for about 14 months now. We have just over 20,000 miles we've put on it. We got a good deal on it. Previous owner put it up for sale and number 3 injector went out. We brought it home, replaced the number 3 injector, and 2 weeks later we had to do a road trip. But the family wanted to take this over the wife's Escalade because this is much more roomier and more comfortable. So we took it on a 5,000 mile round trip, and it did great. We did get 2 engine codes through the trip. One was for the seized EGR valve and the seized vanes on the turbo, neither of which affected the performance that we could notice. We weren't towing, it was just luggage and passengers, and we still managed to get 17, 18 miles a gallon with it. She did great. It replaced a 2007 Chevy Suburban 4x4 3/4 ton with the 6-liter, and this blows it out of the water. There's no comparison in my mind. The Chevy Suburban rode fine, empty, but I just did not like it when I had to hook something up in tow. A couple days after we got back, I noticed oil in the coolant, which meant that the oil cooler had most likely ruptured. So we pulled it in the shop and got to work on it. I ended up replacing the oil cooler with another Ford factory oil cooler just because I was not 100% satisfied with the aftermarket oil cooler kits that they were out there. I feel each one of them has a flaw to them, so I stuck with the factory until I could design my own, which I'm actually putting on the F-250. So if that works out as planned, I'll be doing the same thing to this eventually. Because I went with a factory oil cooler, I went ahead and put on a coolant filters on it, so to try to keep it from getting plugged too quickly. Once I get the external oil cooler installed, there's no need to have a coolant filter, so I'll be removing it. I would not go with this brand of coolant filter again if I had to do it over again. I have not been impressed with it. Well, we had it in the shop. I went ahead and replaced the high pressure oil pump. I'll show a picture of that later. I went with one that's addressed the flaws on this one because this truck was a January 2003 build date, so it had the aluminum high pressure oil pump that had some issues. I also replaced the IPR, the IPC, the turbo. I went with a Garrett brand new turbo instead of the remanufactured, which was on there, and it was just too pitted in the casting where the vanes rub. I didn't feel comfortable reusing it. Did upgrade to a Mishimoto radiator, a Mishimoto intercooler. Upgraded the alternator to a high output. Also, the wiring has been upgraded, has 2 new batteries, installed an cold air intake system on it, mainly to make sure I don't suck any dust in. The factory one, the clips just don't seal very good, and I've read a lot of issues with sucking dust into the turbo and debris. So thought that was a little bit of insurance to protect my turbo. So I did upgrade the water pump with a metal impeller, replaced all 8 injectors. I ended up having 4 go bad, so since I had it apart, I may as well replace all 8. The previous owner had the wrong oil filter cap on there, so that's been replaced. There is some issues that I'll talk about later with the factory oil filter. I replaced the standpipe and the anti-drain back valve in there, and it still continues to give me problems. It usually only lasts about 2 oil changes before that anti-drain back valve fails again. So that's kind of frustrating. That's why I'm going with a different design on the F250. But yeah, this should be fun. Stay tuned. I'm going to build it into a mild expedition vehicle. I'm looking at a 4 to 6 inch suspension lift. Not sure which route I'm going, whether it's coil or stick with leaf springs, but it'll be a full suspension replacement. I'm going to do front and rear full protection bumpers, exterior tire mount. I'm going to put a winch on there, improve the lighting. I got to reupholster the front seats. Again, the external oil cooler, external oil filter setup with a bypass oil filter. So it should be good. I also want to install an aftermarket fuel pump / filter system for it. There's a lot of different brands I've been researching out there. Haven't really decided on one. So if you have any suggestions, definitely let me know. I've heard good and bads about a lot of them, so I'm taking my time on that. But it's definitely in my plans. So any feedback would be greatly appreciated. And then the exhaust, I plan to upgrade to a 4-inch turbo back exhaust. So I got a couple pictures of some of the things that I replaced. I'll just go through it. This first one is the high pressure oil pump. On the left is the replacement one. You can see it's quite a bit different than the factory. Should hold up. Here we're showing pictures of the rear bushings that I replaced in the suspension. That's a little snubber bushing that was completely gone. There's the new ones with one of the old one right next to it. These made a huge difference on the handling of the truck. There's one installed. Completely different when I'm towing and when I'm empty. This is basically to help me have a stable ride until I decide on my suspension system. There's the front bump stops completely gone. I replaced everything with polyurethane bushings and bump stops. There's the replacement right there. Made a huge difference. Truck still bottoms out on the front just going over speed limit or speed bump, but it does help. There's my Bilstein steering stabilizer. I removed the cat mainly to keep my exhaust temperatures down. I do towing on long hills, so I wanted to keep those temperatures down. There's the bypass pipe that I installed. It's an easy, quick install on that one. Really, between this and my intake, engine breathed a lot better and I eliminated a lot of turbo lag. Lots of things planned for this truck, so stay tuned. It's going to be fun. I want to thank all military members, veterans, and their family members for keeping this great land safe. Also want to thank all our police officers and their families for keeping us safe as well. Thank you, and be safe out there.